dismissed to kids worship at this time. And if you have your Bibles, turn to Proverbs 13. Proverbs 13, and we're going to read verse 11. Wealth obtained by fraud dwindles, but the one who gathers by labor increases it. That's New American Standard Version. The English Standard Version says it this way: wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Story is told about a woman in a small claims court, and as she was standing before the judge, it was obvious she was having a problem paying her bills on time. And so the judge asked her, "Can't you live within your income?" And she responded with, "No, Your Honor, it's all I can do to live within my credit." Well, the truth of the matter is I think too many people can identify with that. It's all a lot of people can do to live within their credit. They can't hardly at all live within their income. And so we need to stop and think about money. Proverbs, if you've been reading through Proverbs this past week, there are lots of subjects there in the book of Proverbs, but money is one that seems to be dominant throughout this book. And lots of people have a lot of different ideas about money. Some people say it's sinful to be rich. Others say it's a virtue to be poor. They're sort of like the little church needed a new preacher, and they got together and prayed about their preacher. They wanted a poor, humble man to be their preacher. And so they prayed to God, "God, you keep him humble, we'll keep him poor." Well, some people think that money is the ultimate security. But think about the amount of money that people waste on get-rich-quick schemes. You know, on Wednesdays and Fridays and Saturdays, you go into Walmart to get gas. When I go in there to get gas, you got to stand in a long line. There's people putting down $2, $3, $4, $5, even $20 to play the lottery, so they can win ever how many millions of dollars the lottery is that week. What if they took that $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, or $20 every week and put it in the bank? It'd be a world of difference. Because they're more likely to get hit by lightning than they are to win the lottery. And not many of us have been hit by lightning. And a lot less of us are going to win the lottery. So the Bible has a lot to say about money, and especially the book of Proverbs has a lot to say about money. And so what is it that God wants us to know about money from Proverbs? Now, obviously, today I'm not going to cover all the verses that Proverbs has that talks about money, but be ready to keep your Bibles turning today, because we're going to look at a lot of verses that God talks about money. First of all, we need to understand that money is not evil. Money is not evil. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil, not money itself. Understand that. Wealth can be a good thing. Can be a good thing. It does provide a degree of security. In Proverbs 10:15, a rich man's wealth is his strong city. The poverty of the poor is their ruin. Well, that word strong, I looked that word up. in Strong's dictionary of words. That word strong means security. And so what that verse is saying is a rich man's wealth is his security. Okay? But turn to Proverbs 18:11. Proverbs 18:11. A rich man's wealth is his strong city, and like a high wall is his imagination. Now I looked up that high wall, and the word high means safe, strong, set up on a hill. And so there is a certain amount of security in having wealth. Proverbs 14:22 says, "The crown of the wise is their wealth, but the folly of fools brings folly." So that's important. Wealth can be a good thing. It provides security. It says something about our wisdom. The crown of wealth is their wise. The crown of the wise is their wealth. So we have to think about, well, how do we get it? You know, some people want to do it by the lottery. They want to get it instantly. Some people try all kinds of get-rich-quick schemes. You know, all these different pyramid schemes and whatever that's out there. Thinking, well, I'm going to get rich off of this. Some people think, well, I'll just invest all this money in a stock and I'm going to get wealthy, and then that stock goes under and you lost everything. How is wealth to be gained? What does the Bible say? Well, the verse we read is our text. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." The idea is that we need to save money. Right? We need to save money. Now, I don't know, a lot of people say, well, I can't save money. I can't hardly live from paycheck to paycheck. How can I save any money? Well, look at your spending habits. What are you doing with your money? How many things are you spending money on that you really don't need? You know, there's nothing wrong with spending money on things you need. But are we spending money on things we can do without? Or things that we could cut back on and then take that money that we've saved and put it in the bank and gain a little by little. Don't try to gain it all at one time. The Proverbs is full of verses that talk about that we shouldn't pursue unethical methods to get rich. Proverbs 28:19 and 20 says, "Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits will have poverty. A faithful man will abound with blessings, but whoever hastens to be rich will not go unpunished." You see, it comes down to this, and it's what's the condition of your heart? And what are you trusting? Are you trusting God? Well, if you're trusting God and you're working hard every day, you're putting a little bit back so that you'll have that little bit. That's what that verse is saying. Proverbs 12:11 is very similar. "Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits lacks sense." You know, you have to think about, how are you pursuing wealth? If you got good sense, you just work at it, save it a little bit at a time. You see, what we need to understand is what wealth cannot do. It can provide a certain amount of security, but what It cannot do. First of all, wealth cannot save us. It cannot save us. Proverbs 11:4. Riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. You're not going to heaven because you have money. You're going to heaven because you have Jesus. And you need to make sure you have Jesus. And if you're going to have Jesus, you got to understand, Jesus talked more about money than any other subject. And so it's important that we understand what He wants us to do with our money. So many people are guilty of misusing money. And so many people think, well, I've got money, I've got everything. But that's not going to save us. Roger Palms tells a story about two men who both worked for a nonprofit organization. Both men had expense accounts. One man lived as a friend of God, and the other man didn't. One day they were out on a business trip together, and they went to a restaurant. And the one man ordered himself a steak, and he looked at the other man and said, "Go ahead, order the steak." And the guy said, "I can't do that." He said, "I can't eat like that at home. I can't afford it. So I can't justify spending the money." Oh, man said, "Oh, you work hard. You work real hard. Go ahead and enjoy it. Eat the steak." The man said, "I'm paid to work hard. And I'm not paid to take advantage of the donors to this organization." When both of those men started working for that company, they both had high convictions of their calling to work within that organization that helped people in need. They both helped keep costs down so the money could be used as donors expected it to be used. But then they began to notice that other people in their group weren't so fussy about it. And after a while, it became easier for one of those men to change from his high commitment to rationalizing, well, they're all doing it, I might as well too. So he looked at the man and he says, "You make the rest of us look bad when we turn in our expenses." But the man that was a friend of God wouldn't bend. He just goes on one day at a time, trying to do what is expected of him by God. And usually that's all we have to go on, is to try to be a friend of God. What others say cannot be the measure of what is ethical, moral, right, even if it's legal. The view of the majority is not necessarily the view of God. And that's obvious in Proverbs 11:28. Whoever trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. So money can't save us. It's a lot of things it can do for us, but it definitely can't save us. So what are we supposed to do with it? Well, let's start with what we're not supposed to do with it. We're not supposed to be greedy. In Proverbs 1:19, such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessors. So if you're greedy for money, it says it's taking away your life. Because money's not going to save you. Greed is a sin. And it leads to lots of other sins. Proverbs 15:27 says, whoever is greedy for unjust gain troubles his own household, but he who hates bribes will live. Greed doesn't just affect us. It affects everyone around us. And we need to be aware that it's affecting us in that manner. But then greed leads to laziness. In Proverbs 21, 25 and 26, the desire of the sluggard kills him, for his hands refuse to labor. All day long he craves and craves, but the righteous gives and does not hold back. See the difference? Money's not to be used for ourselves. Money is to be used for God's purposes. Money and greed lead to laziness. They also lead to hypocrisy. Proverbs 23, beginning at verse 6, it says, "Do not eat the bread of a man who is stingy. Do not desire his delicacies, for he is like one who is inwardly calculated. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. You will vomit up the morsels that you have eaten and waste your pleasant words." So, money, it's not that's what we're not supposed to be. Greedy, stingy, hypocrite, lazy. But what are we to do with money? Well, we're supposed to be generous. We're supposed to be generous. Proverbs 14:21. "Whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor." Blessed is he who is generous to the poor. Notice the contrast between the conditions of the heart. If you disrespect anyone, you're a sinner. Okay? But the one who is generous to the poor is going to be blessed. Well, why is that? Well, Proverbs 19:17 tells us, "Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed." See, we have a responsibility to the poor. That's important. I mean, the government has taken that over, but that's our responsibility as Christians, to look out for the poor and be concerned about the poor. And when we do something for the poor, the writer of Proverbs says, you're lending to the Lord. And he's going to bless you for it. You know, we see people all the time beg. Some people do it professionally. And you have that question in the back of your mind always. If I were to give this person or not? Well, if you know they're doing it professionally, probably not. But if you make an error in giving to somebody that really didn't deserve it, God knows what was in your heart. He knows the intention you had of trying to truly help somebody out. And God's going to give you credit. God's going to bless you for that. And so we have to think about all these things. Alan Clark said about that verse, "God makes himself debtor for everything that is given to the poor. Who would not advance much upon such credit? God will pay it again, and in no case has he ever forfeited his word." Then Proverbs 11:17 says, "A man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself." See, if we really learn to be generous, we can understand what this proverb's talking about. Because when you're doing something for the Lord, you're going to be blessed beyond expectation. Now, that doesn't mean if I generously give somebody $1, I'm going to get 10 back. Okay? We're not dealing in the health and wealth ideas here. But we're dealing with what God says. His blessings are going to be more than we can understand. And God does bless us, because when you're generous, you feel like you're doing something for God, and there's a good feeling within your soul. When you're stingy, there's just that, I gotta have it all for myself. And so we need to be generous to people around us. But then we need to understand that God expects us to use money for His kingdom. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 and 10 says, "Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine." Now, look at what is expected, first of all. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of your produce. Remember back in Cain and Abel? Remember both of them brought an offering to God? It says that Abel brought the fat portions of his flock. And it says Cain brought something. It's a big difference. And the fat portions are the first fruits versus something. God expects the first fruits, the fat portions, to be given to Him first. The idea all throughout the Old Testament is the tithe. In the New Testament, I think Jesus makes it plain that's the beginning point. And then learn to give beyond that if you are blessed and able. But God deserves a minimum of the tenth. Now, the average American doesn't give anywhere near that. 2.5% is what the average person gives. God deserves a tenth. And it's very simple. And we need to teach it to our children. It's very simple. If a child earns $1, teach them from the beginning. Give a dime. If you earn $10, give $1. If you earn $100, you give $10. If you earn $1,000, you give $100. It's the same percentage all the way through, isn't it? 10%. That's the beginning place of giving to the Lord. And that's what He's saying. Give the first fruits. Give the very best part. And I can tell you this. I know it from experience. When I give the Lord the first part, the rest of it goes a lot farther. If for some reason I decide to keep it for myself that week, the whole thing goes real fast. Giving God the first part makes the other 9/10 stretch a long ways. God's looking out for us and providing. Some people say, I can't afford to do that. Can't afford to give that much. Let me ask you a question. How can you afford not to give it? Because look at the rest of that verse. Verse 10. Your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. You realize that when God gives us a command about giving, there's always a blessing that's attached to it. When He says, bring in the tithe to the storehouse in Malachi, what does He say follows that? See if I will not open the floodgates of heaven and pour out on you more blessings than you can receive. Whenever God gives us an instruction about giving, He always gives the blessing that's going to follow. So how can you not afford to give? You want to be blessed? Trust the Lord. It's sort of like the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. Remember that story? You know, the master was going away. He gave one servant 5 talents. He gave one servant 2 talents. And He gave one servant 1 talent. When he comes back, And they had to give account. The one who had been given 5 had made 5 more. Okay, that's pretty good. You double your return there, what you invested. That's a pretty good job. So he got 5, and the master said, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And then the one that got 2, he had earned 2 more. And the master said, "Well done, good and faithful servant." But the one who had gotten 1, well, we know he went out and hid his, and the servant came back and just brought the 1. And the master wasn't very happy. But in that scripture, Jesus says, "You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much." You have been faithful in little. I will set you over much. You get the idea? If you're faithful with what you have, God's going to bless you. Okay? And let's be honest. We all live in America. We're all rich. You look at the rest of the world, we are rich. Okay? All of us are. Are we faithful in what God's given us? Okay? Think about it. If we don't use what we have for the Lord, we're cheating ourselves and are in danger of losing what we have. God has many blessings He wants to give us. But we need to trust Him. And we need to learn to use what we have for His kingdom. So, here's the question. How much are you trusting God with your money? You say, "Well, how do I decide that?" Well, how do you check on it? What are you spending your money on? When you get paid, does God get the first part? That's something Carl and I try to do every week when I make my deposit. The first check is written for the church. I believe everybody else do that. And I think if you do that, I challenge you to do that, I think you find out the rest of your money goes on. When you put God first and you give Him at least a 10, the rest of your money will go off on. But do you trust God that much? Do you trust God that much? Do you understand the blessings He's already given? He's given us the blessing of the Son. We think He's going to pay for that. Right? He's given us the blessing of the Holy Spirit. We need to let Him lead us. We need to let Him guide us. Help us to do what God wants us to do. And we have a promise of going to heaven. We need to store up our treasure there. And walk don't corrupt. But where it's going to be an eternal benefit. Do you trust the Lord? Well, first place in the start is, have you really accepted Jesus as the Lord and Savior? Have you repented of your sin? Have you confessed He is Lord? Have you been immersed in your sins to be washed away? And you can receive that gift of the Holy Spirit. None of those things? Okay, that's the beginning. It's not the end. A lot of people think that's all I got to do. No, that's not the end. That's the beginning. The rest of it is harder. We have to be faithful in every aspect, including our money. You're here this morning, you have a decision to make for Jesus. Won't you come? Follow His name.
I surrender all to thee. I freely give. I will ever love and trust you in your presence daily live. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. All to Jesus I surrender, Lord. I give myself to thee. Fill me with your love and power. Let your blessing fall on me. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. All to Jesus I surrender now. I feel the sacred flame. Oh, the joy of full salvation. Glory, glory to your name. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. I surrender all. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all to thee, my blessed. All to thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all.
Please see, just a minute, please. Anything else? Running up here. I'm not going to go over all those amendments in the bulletin. They're there, they're going to be running up here. One that's not in the bulletin, but it is on the slide up here, is that on Friday night the 17th, the Solomon Foundation will be giving a free dinner to all that are interested in investing with the Solomon Foundation down in Chatham at El Pasador. But we have to RSVP by the 10th, so we have to RSVP by this Friday. How many intend to go? Now, if you're not familiar with the Solomon Foundation is one of the organizations that support new church work. They make loans to churches, particularly new churches. They make loans to older churches too. and they provide investment opportunities. And I have checked lately to see what the percentage rate for the investment is right now. If you can go on the SolomonFoundation.org and find out what their percentages are, I guarantee you it's a lot better than savings accounts in the bank. But you can look and then you can go down next Friday night and hear what they have to say, make some ideas of whether you want to invest or not. I think from what I've read about them, what I've seen about them, I think they're a good organization. They also are the ones that publish a book out, Christian Standard, and Standard Publishing, they always do. So, it's an important organization in the brotherhood, and there's an opportunity for you to save money. So you may want to look into that. If you do, let me know if you're interested in going, so I can let them know how many people over here will be from. Okay.
Dr. Bill Randolph is one, he does advertisements for them, he's invested in them. He used to be the dentist in Chatham.
Yeah, and he's an elder at Cornerstone. And I'm sure he's the one who's got him here. So, Bill's a good man. All right. But then, you pay attention to the other announcements that are in your bulletin on our prayer list. One other announcement, Carly got new books for the ladies group. If you want to tell them about it?
It's called A Recipe for Peace. It's 7 ingredients for a satisfying life. And anyway, the books are $10, so if you're interested in one, just see them.
Okay. On your prayer list, add the name Steve Hayes. Steve, the preacher at Stella Christian Church. His wife just died 7 weeks ago, and Kathy was on our prayer list for a long time. She was battling with cancer. This past Thursday, Steve went to the doctor. They seemed to roll up, and Friday they did a catheterization and Saturday night in the hospital. And either Tuesday or Wednesday this week, he's going to have triple bypass. So keep him in your prayers. Larry's known the weather this week, but been a little better this morning. Made it out, that's good. Linda's having a tough time with allergies, so keep Linda in your prayers. Rita goes to the doctor tomorrow and find out if they can do something to help her in the back and on problems that she's facing. So keep her in your prayers. Along with that, we added this morning the family of Jenny Platt, who's worked in the mission school, passed away. And we be in prayer for all the people that have been affected by being evacuated from their homes, and still some people at home because of the problems with them, obviously. So keep those folks in prayer. Any others that we need to pray for?
Chad and Crystal will be traveling back from Tennessee today, and Brian will be leaving, traveling to Pennsylvania for the week.
All right. Keep all in prayers for traveling.
Actually, I have a question. I know that Opposition School had that fire. Any updates on that?
I haven't heard anything, so maybe we'll try to see if we can get an update this week. And comments on that. And give us an update.
Randy is getting his results in about 2 weeks about, I guess, cancer or whatever, towards the prostate cancer.
Okay.
And don't forget schools are getting back into sessions
Yeah, we'll start back soon. When y'all start?
Wednesday.
Y'all start the Wednesday. Campaign starts on the 14th. So the school is getting back on the way. So let's keep in prayer for all of that. All right. Let's stand for our closing prayer, please. We'll just sing happy birthday to everybody. All right, birthdays in August. Are you older than him? You put in more points than he did. That's very bad.
I'm gonna have to owe you.
You're right, I'll get a lot. All right, any other birthdays? Has none here. Arthur and Ray aren't here.
Catch you next time.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again next time. Yeah. All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God bless you. Happy birthday to you. All right. Any anniversaries in August? Huh? Oh. I'm gonna have to go to the bank a lot too.
That's just in case.
Yeah, he just covered us. And he. How many, Alan? 47. How many, Carla?
41.
You got it. How many, Kevin?
24 tomorrow.
24. All right. All right. Lee?
Happy anniversary to you.
Happy anniversary